President Zelensky ordered to start taking back Ukrainian territories within the next 3 weeks. There are potentially even more Russian soldiers surrounded in the east, and Russia decided to cancel the International Space Station. But more about this in a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. To begin with, let's go to the east of the country, to the city of Donetsk, where a couple of nights ago, this is the night sky the residents were able to see. And I'm personally not sure what I'm looking at, so if you know what is this, please let me know in the comments. In addition to that, last night Ukrainian army was able to destroy another military warehouse of Russians in Donetsk. Now let's move a little bit to the north, to Horlivka. And in this video we can see the consequences of artillery strikes of Ukrainians against industrial plant of Russians. And according to several reports, military machinery of Russians was destroyed. Then we go a little bit more to the north, to Bakhmut. And right here you can see the consequences of shelling by Russians, and unfortunately as a result, a civilian school was destroyed. In addition to that, recently Russians were also shelling the cities of Konstantinovka and Kramatorsk. And as a result of these attacks, unfortunately civilian buildings were damaged. Then we go a little bit to the east, to the city of Krasny Luch. This city is under the control of Russian forces and has been reported that they were using local hotel as their military headquarters. And as a result of Ukrainian shelling, this hotel/military headquarters of Russians was destroyed. In several seconds I will be showing you the advancements of Russians and Ukrainians in this region, but before this, let's go to Kharkiv, where I can show you a little bit more of war footage. Couple of days ago there was a big explosion literally in Kharkiv center. This was the attack of Russians, and as a result, unfortunately, a civilian building was destroyed. And literally the next morning there was another shelling by Russians, where another building of civilians was destroyed. And just when you thought that this was way more than enough for one region, in fact, Russians continued shelling cities in this region, and this time under the attack was the city of Chugiyev. As you can see, this city is under the control of Ukrainian army, and unfortunately as a result of this attack, a local school was destroyed. And just when you thought that Russians can constantly shell civilian cities with basically no consequences, here is the video of Ukrainian army destroying yet another military warehouse of Russians. This happened in Kharkiv region, and most likely the weapon that was used was HIMARS. Alright, and now, as promised, let's talk about the advancements of both armies in the east of Ukraine. First significant success of Ukrainians come to us from this region, where as you can see, in the last couple of days, Ukrainians were able to take back significant amount of territory. But unfortunately, if we go a little bit to the east of this region, we can see that in fact, Russians were able to advance in particular areas. And specific areas of interest is this small city of Berestove, and they also moved a little bit closer to Pokrovskaya. These advancements are basically the attempt of Russians to move closer to the city of Bakhmut. Russians were also able to capture a thermal power plant in Svetlodarsk. And Russian generals reported that since they were able to capture Svetlodarsk, it opens them the direction to capture Bakhmut, which as you can guess will be the next city of attention for Russians. And before I show you one area in the east where potentially even more Russian soldiers are now surrounded, here is a little bit more of advancements of both Russians and Ukrainians. First of all, it has already been reported and confirmed by the Ukrainian army that Russians were able to capture Novoluganskaya, which basically allows Russian army from both sides of this water reservoir to now join their forces and start their direction towards Bakhmut. Another major focus of Russians at this very moment are the cities of Seversk and the city of Solidar. Alright, and now let me show you another area where Russian soldiers are most likely surrounded, and in the meantime, while I'm going there, please consider liking this video and subscribing my channel if you like this style of daily updating. Okay, and the area I'm talking about here is this small area in between Velika and Mala Alexandrovka. As you can see, Ukrainian forces are basically trying to close their circle in this particular area. All this is happening in the south of Ukraine, where, as you already know, Ukraine is pretty pretty much dominating. Which means that in case this surrounding is completed, the best case scenario for these remaining Russian soldiers will be to become the prisoners of war. Alright, and now since we are in the south of Ukraine, here is the video of Russians shelling the city of Mykolaiv. And unfortunately, as a result of this attack, it has been reported that the port was partially destroyed. And besides that, recently Russians were also shelling the Odessa region. It has been reported that Russians used 8 X-22 missiles which were dropped by bombers. And as a result of these attacks, almost the entire neighborhood unfortunately has been destroyed. So after watching all these bombings and shellings by Russians today, you might start thinking that Ukraine is losing the advantage in this war. And right before I tell you how Russian businessmen are abusing this war to keep their businesses alive, here are the reasons why Ukraine is still victorious in this war. First of all, a couple of words about the east. In the very beginning, Russians were advancing in this region pretty fast and they had way more machinery. But right now, as you can see, every single day I'm making these updates, there is almost not a single territory where Russians advance. From time to time, they might capture some small areas, but at the same time, Ukrainians take something back from somewhere else. So let's say so, theoretically, Russians might capture Bakhmut, but at the same time, they will most likely lose another major city. Speaking about the south of Ukraine, it's even worse for Russia. It is estimated that Ukrainian forces are basically on the borders of Kherson region, which means that the liberation will start practically any day now. In response to that, the only thing Russians can do in the south is to constantly shell distant cities, such as for example Mykolaiv. This theoretically slows down the Ukrainians and gives Russians more time to send reinforcements from the east. But if you remember, Ukrainians are actively destroying infrastructure in the east, such as bridges, highways and railroads, which basically means that these reinforcements will take way longer for Russians to arrive. And in the meantime, Ukrainians will be able to start liberating the south, city by city, town by town, village by village. And then just think about it, it's very easy. If Russia sends reinforcements from the east to the south, it basically means that there will be fewer Russian soldiers in the east. And as you already know, Russia already struggles in the east and they cannot spare any single soldier. Which means that if Russians want to kinda protect the south, they will have to give up the east, and vice versa. Ukrainians understand this perfectly, and here we have the statement from Zelensky, who ordered Ukrainian army to start taking back its territories within the next 3 to 6 weeks. He realizes that this is probably the most crucial moment in this war, and while Russia is weak, Ukraine needs to take the advantage. Another reason for this, according to Zelensky, is that cold temperatures will start kinda soon. And as soon as winter starts, it usually slows down the war, which unfortunately is much better for Russia because they can reinforce their positions, bring more soldiers and machinery, and just basically catch a breath. And so now, and exactly right now, when the enemy is bleeding, this is when Ukraine needs to finish this war. And by the way, this news just came right now while I was recording, but it looks like that Ukrainians completely destroyed bridge in Antonovka. The information is still not yet confirmed, but if you want to be among the first ones to know if it's true or not, please consider joining my Discord. In addition to that, we as a community constantly donate money to Ukraine at the end of each month. And if you want to be a part of this group donation, please consider checking my Patreon. All the links can be found in the description. Welcome to another episode of ridiculous Russian propaganda. And today we have this, let's call it, feature in Russia where these small business owners, they put this and this on their businesses just so that the government does not demolish their enterprises. Because right now, according to the criminal code in Russia, you cannot destroy military symbols. Which basically means if you publicly destroy these symbols, if you burn them or if you spit on them, you can get actual jail time. For this reason, these mind-blowing 9000 IQ business owners, they started putting these things on their businesses. Because in case local authorities start to threaten to demolish these buildings, these business owners, they can start filming them, and in case this actually happens, they will later sue them. And during the times of war, the very last thing you wanna do if you are in Russia is to go against military symbols. And for this reason, these unprofitable corporations, they continue their unprofitable activities. Today, Yuri Borisov, who is the head of Roscosmos, which is basically NASA of Russia, he announced that Russia will stop participating in the International Space Station program after 2024. And I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, whenever it was announced that he will be replacing Dmitry Rogozin on the post of the head of Roscosmos, I was kinda hoping that he will not become the next Twitter clown. But unfortunately, it looks like that my hopes were not heard. During his meeting with Vladimir Putin, Yuri Borisov mentioned that Russia is fully prepared to create its own Russian space station. And by the way, in this video you can see the way they want it to look like. I guess this is the perfect opportunity for them to say, we don't need your International Space Station, we're gonna build our own International Space Station with blackjack and hook. But anyways, I'm assuming that in the very beginning this space station will be solely for Russian astronauts. And later, most likely, Russia will be inviting astronauts from their allied countries, such as for example China and India. I just hope that in the future Russians will not feel this urge that the original space station actually needs to be denazified, which potentially can create the very first Star Wars. And I mean, in case this actually happens, I guess we already know which country will have the red lightsabers. And Putin will be to Lukashenko like, hey Lukashenko, I'm your father. Okay, probably another long episode, and in case you enjoyed it, please consider becoming my channel member. And yes, this Saturday, July 30th, my charitable livestream is happening, so please mark your calendars. Thank you so much for your attention, check the links in the description, stay safe, and see you tomorrow.